welcome back to another episode of the TB&J podcast. With me is my partner in crime, Troy Brittingham.
You keep singing the intro
Podcast,
and I don't know if it's working for you or
the podcast, the podcast, the podcast, the podcast. We dancing on the podcast. We grooving on the podcast.
How do you do that? How does that happen? You're Jeff.
TB&J. I am?
You are Jeff, yes.
Is that what my underwear says?
I don't know. I have not seen your underwear.
It actually says Calvin Klein. Is that my name?
I don't think it's Calvin.
Is this Back to the Future, where Marty's mom thinks his name is Calvin Klein?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what it says on his underwear? What a great ad. Calvin Klein, send me free underwear.
Oh, I thought you were meant for Back to the Future. I was like, that. I think that's made the money it's going to make.
No, they were raising money for Calvin Klein.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because Marty was wearing his Calvin Kleins. You know who wasn't wearing Calvin Kleins? Ahsoka Tano.
You don't know that.
Troy, this is the 7th episode of 8.
Is it 7 or is it 7 of 8 or 7 of 9?
I believe it's 8. This is the last one coming out this week.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We are fucking Dunskies with Ahsoka after this week.
Wow.
So, fucking, you weren't here last week.
I was not here last week.
What was your opinion on seeing Thrawn and Ezra Bridger live and in action, alive and definitely not dead?
Thrawn and Ezra, two characters I care about a lot. Ezra, I think even more so, controversially. A lot of people at the start of Rebels didn't really like Ezra, and if you get to season 3, you do like Ezra, is sort of how Rebels worked.
So he had, what, character development?
Yep.
Wow.
Crazy. And it's a similar arc that with the fans that Ahsoka went through, where season 1 of Clone Wars, people were like, this is annoying, and if this character died tomorrow, no one would care. Jump cut to her dying in season 2 of Rebels, and everybody fucking bawling their eyes out, and then clapping like seals when she's back to life at the end of season 4.
How did that happen?
They go to the world between worlds, the thing that all the fanboys say is going to be used to
retcon the sequels.
all the sequels.
Yeah. That's where she meets Anakin while she's drowning on Cetos back in episode 4 or 5, right?
Yeah.
We got to see Clone Wars Anakin. Why does he call her Snips?
I think it's literally because she's snippy, and they stopped calling her that after season 3 of the show.
Okay.
But it's a thing. It's around. I'm glad to hear it once. I thought it was sort of. I always read it as a thing of just sort of she got older, and it was stop calling me that, and then he calls her that in this. So I don't know how to feel anymore. But that's really a nothing.
It was the world between worlds, but was that actually Anakin? If it is the world between worlds, it should have been Anakin, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Not a hallucination of Anakin.
No.
Okay.
I feel like that's definitely Anakin.
Okay. That's where my biggest question mark was. In that episode.
Rex was in there, and Rex is alive, as far as we know.
Yeah, but the world between worlds is a different reality.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like the Force has never had rules in 50 years of Star Wars.
Holy shit, has it been 50 years? It's been 50.
No, it was 79, so it's coming up on 50, I think, right?
Shit.
Is that how time works?
Yeah. 89, 99, 09, 19. Yeah, 2029 is going to be 50 years of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. You think Mark Hamill's going to make it?
I hope so. Out of all
he
of them,
should, right?
Out of all of them, I hope.
I think he's only 70, right? He's pretty
something
young.
like that. He seems
Harrison might not.
I mean, I feel like Harrison doesn't want to.
Harrison doesn't want to. He's got his ticket punched. He's waiting there, just sitting there patiently waiting for death to come a knocking. He's come on.
Somebody's knocking on his door, and they're just like, hey, do you want to play Han Solo again? And he's just like, let me die. Let me die. And they're like, your character did die. He's like, that's not what I'm talking about.
Hey, it's Spielberg. Do you want to do Indiana Jones again?
Well, he actually did want to do Indiana Jones again. That was apparently a thing in his contract. The reason the last Indiana Jones came out and nobody saw, but that wasn't part of the deal. But the reason
the Dial of Destiny.
The reason the Dial of Destiny came out is he was basically like, I will do one more Star Wars if you kill Han Solo and let me do Indiana Jones. That's the character he actually wants to play.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, he like loves Indiana Jones and hates Han Solo, which is so weird because they're the same guy.
That's so fucking
There's
funny.
like very little different between Indiana Jones and Han Solo, but he hates one and loves the other.
That is so fucking bizarre to me. But all right. You want a little fact about Indiana Jones? Because Dee's not here to tell me to shut up.
This is tangentially related to Star Wars.
When they were filming the very first Indiana Jones, they went to give him his costume, and he hated the boots they gave him, so he insisted on keeping his boots, which is from a company called Alden, I believe, or something along that line. And those boots became the Indiana Jones boots in the movie, and then Alden then took that line of boots and renamed it the Indy, and they now sell for like $350.
I mean, he also basically redesigned the inside of the Falcon cockpit too.
Yeah,
he was like a set designer guy first. So.
Yeah, he was a big carpenter guy. Mm-hmm. He was a carpenter on American History, I believe. That's how he met Lucas.
American Graffiti. And he was also in that movie.
Yeah. But that's how he met Lucas, right? Was being a carpenter on that set. There's your Harrison Ford trivia for the day, and that's it. That's all you get.
And then he was asked.
I said that's it.
All right, never mind.
Yeah. Shh. No more. Balin Scroll is in this. Skull.
Skull.
SKOL.
No, yeah.
Yeah, Skull.
So actually, can I talk about last episode for like 2 seconds because I wasn't on that episode. I am mostly thumbs up. I'm thumbs up on this episode as well. We didn't do that.
We haven't really done that in a while,
we've pretty much been thumbs up on every episode, across the board. The only thing I wasn't crazy about, and this is only because I'm a big fanboy, and Ezra and Sabine are some of my favorite characters in Star Wars, plural or proper, is I felt like the reunion could have been a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it could have been a little,
like I don't know what I want. Like I don't know how big I want it because eventually it gets too big.
Yeah,
and it starts to be like, all right, chill out.
Yeah, we didn't need Hera and Chopper there. And...
Well, no, I'm talking like I think that like the reaction should have been a little bit bigger.
Oh. Yeah, I feel like, and Star Wars isn't the only people guilty of this, but when there is like a big emotional moment between two characters, some movies will take the cop out and they'll just be like, oh, yeah, I got here as quick as I could. Ha. And they'll just make, like, dumb jokes.
I don't want people to be fucking sniveling and like, falling over themselves and, like, the music swells, like, to a dramatic degree. But I feel like you could have swelled the music a little bit more.
Yeah,
you could have gotten some more
just
facial
revealed
reactions.
Ezra is alive and well and has these Noki little hermit crab people that also have rebellion necklaces. So I guess he's converted them to the cause.
Also, I did listen to the last episode of this podcast. And I'm gonna say it. I think Dee's a bit of a hater. He didn't necessarily say that he hated these guys, but he was just sort of like, yeah, they're toys. I get it. I can deal with them. I'm all about Star Wars needs little critters.
I honestly, as soon as they showed up, I was like, okay, here's the little critter in this series.
I'm about these. I'm not always about all little critters. I'm about these little Star Wars critters.
They're adorable.
And sometimes they're puppets, and sometimes they're CGI, I believe.
Mm-hmm. I think when they have somewhere to hide the puppeteer is when they try to do the puppets. And then whenever it's not, it's more CGI.
Yeah,
like when they're in the vehicles, like those are all puppets.
Yeah.
But I practical effects are fucking great. I do love them. I thought the CGI in this episode was a little wonky. When
this 7?
This 7, when Balin and Shin are sitting there on the hill looking at Ezra, and all those like cannon fodder guys start riding past them, you could kind of see as they like rode past Shin from behind her, there was a little bit of like a line between like her mount and theirs.
Okay,
and it's like, all right, well, you can see where like they cut around the green screen to make the CGI happen, and then when they're riding down the hill, it looked a little flat. So, I mean, it could have been a little bit better. But honestly, that feels nitpicky to me.
Well, this is also a fast episode where this is probably the most fighting we've gotten so far.
I don't know about that, but there's a lot of fighting.
There's a lot of fighting before on what's the water planet?
Cetos. That's where they were when the map was realized and they went away. And blah, blah, blah.
That's the contender, but that's also like 3 episodes.
Yeah, that was also like 2 or 3 episodes ago. Mm-hmm. It felt like there was a good like first arc, and then there was like a fall, and now this is like the second arc, and it's very, very good.
I also love live action Thrawn. He is. There are a lot of people online saying like he's kind of schlubby, he's kind of Elon Musk looking. He is Elon Musk looking. People are also kind of like calling him fat, which is a little rude.
I mean, first of all, yes, but second of all, it's hard to not be anything other than fat in large quotation marks when your initial portrayal was like a super thin, super sleek, angular drawing.
You're trying to be a cartoon character, and that's we. Keep
and not
seeing...
even that, but Thrawn was drawn deliberately like super tall, super thin, like almost comically thin.
This was a situation of, do you want to have the voice actor be the guy in live action and not have it be weird where you have to have him dub over it, or do you want a different guy to be Thrawn? And I think
does he play Thrawn in the show?
He is also Thrawn in season 3 and 4
Mickelson
of
there?
Yep, season 3 and 4 of
really?
Rebels. He's the same guy.
They had big name actors in Rebels?
They did, yeah. I mean, they also have some general Star Wars cameos of like Billy D. Williams has a Lando episode. I think
3PO was in the last episode of this show, Ahsoka.
Was 3PO in the last episode? No, he's in the last one. You're right.
Last one.
I believe he's the last one.
Either
one of them.
Yeah, I think it might be the last.
Well,
one.
Anthony Daniels for sure is just on call at all times to be 3PO.
He loves 3PO so much, and I love him for loving 3PO. And that man, whenever you see him on the red carpet, he's always wearing a shiny gold suit. Like But no one's embraced a character as well as he has, I think.
But like Kanan Jarrus is Freddie Prinze Jr. and Seventh Sister is his wife Sarah Michelle Gellar.
That's right.
Like there's some actors in that show.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. I had no idea.
I mean, David Tennant is
Hugh Yang, yeah,
and he's also that in Clone Wars. He's not in Rebels, but he's in Clone Wars.
Really, David Tennant's in Clone Wars?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
As this character.
That's incredible. I mean, that's great. Don't get me wrong, but like, holy shit, I expected a lot more like Nolan Norths and shit.
One character who I know for a fact will probably make it to live action one day is Hondo Ohnaka, who's sort of Star Wars's like Jack Sparrow, basically.
Oh yeah.
And he's also kind of in Rebels. He's a lot more of like Ezra's goofy uncle, because he's in Clone Wars and Rebels. And he's still very much alive, and he's a fan favorite, and he'll eventually make it. And he's
You think he'll be in the Mando movie that Filoni's writing?
He'll be in something. I mean, I'm hesitant to say anybody will be in any Star Wars movie because they keep canceling them every time they're announced.
They have. I think the Mandalorian movie is still on.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily Mandalorian as in
it's the Dave
Pedro
Filoni
Pascal
show, yeah.
Yeah, it's the culmination of all the different spin-offs that are coming together.
I think that one has a good chance of actually being made. I think the Rey movie has a good chance of actually being made. I think
Taika Waititi's movie is iced for now, but it hasn't been canceled.
I think it's gonna be.
You think so?
I think it's pretty dead in the water, and Rian Johnson will never look at Star Wars again, unfortunately.
I mean, very unfortunately, because he's a great fucking director and a great writer. Knives Out is
It is
a
weird
classic.
how people are like, wow, he sucks at making movies, we hate this guy, and then they look at every other movie he's made and they're like, wow, it's weird that he only made one bad movie. And I'm like,
maybe that movie wasn't that bad. Who knows?
But in I think that. Yeah, I think the two that have a real chance still are the Filoni one has the highest chance. I think Rey has the second highest chance. I don't know about anybody else.
All right. So, speaking of theories, it's theory time. Okay? So we've got one episode left to answer all of our questions, which means a lot of them are not going to get answered. So we get to speculate because that's what happens in the Star Wars world and any other world for that matter. Stormtroopers. In the subtitles, they're called Night Troopers.
Yes.
They very clearly have Dathomiri red wraps on all of their armor. The leader, Enoch, has his gold-faced helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really want to believe they are resurrected. Not necessarily to the extent that what's his name was in the Knight Armor from a few episodes ago, Marok.
So, you actually, as I came in, you were finishing this episode.
Yes.
And you asked if they were zombies, and I basically kind of dismissed it immediately. I was like, nah, I don't think that they're gonna do that story. Like, I don't think that's making it to live action. That seems a little high in the sky for them.
Mm.
And then immediately I thought of Marok, who is
a zombie.
Yep. He has 4 Night Sisters that are working with him, Thrawn, that is. And I thought about, so Rebels ends, spoilers for Rebels. I mean, if you're watching Ahsoka, you either don't care about Rebels or you've seen Rebels.
Yeah.
At the very, very end of Rebels, the very last fight ends with Thrawn specific Star Destroyer, the Chimera, which I love in live action. So for some reason, seeing the Chimera is more, and it's just a Star Destroyer with painting on the bottom. I was more hyped to see the Chimera than I was to see Thrawn.
It's a pretty cool ship.
And also it's the first time that they've made Star Destroyers like scary again. Like,
yeah,
since like maybe Rogue One, but not even really Rogue One. Like,
honestly, since 6 with the Super Star Destroyer, that's the last time I was like scared of them.
But Andor maybe has a scene I'm forgetting.
You mentioned 2 things I don't care about, so no, 6 was it for me. Thanks, Troy.
But Ezra has the Porgles grab the Chimera, grab Thrawn, and then they all hyperspace jump away. And that's why you were asking about this last episode, and I wasn't there to answer. That's why Thrawn only has 1 ship, is because that's the only one that Ezra jumped into a different galaxy.
Got it.
And as far as I know, like, when I saw all these troopers in the beginning last episode, I was like, I didn't know that there was anybody else on that ship. But
yeah, they're night troopers.
I don't know.
Even an empty Star Destroyer has armor and weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So all you need is some bodies to fill them.
Mm-hmm.
And what exactly are the Night Sisters loading into the ship that they need to have on board before they can depart?
Mm-hmm.
I really think these are some fucking undead troopers fighting for Thrawn right now, which would also make him crazy fucking scary, because the undead fear nothing, traditionally. I don't know how Star Wars is going to handle it, but the undead have no fear factor. They have no pain factor.
Well,
they are ultimate soldiers if you can control them.
Well, zombies are already in Star Wars canon right now. Like, they're in Rebels.
The Death Troopers, or not Death Troopers,
there's not Night Troopers or Death Troopers or whatever they're going to call them, if it is them. But there are, like, Night Sister style episodes of both Clone Wars and Rebels where there's a whole fight on Dathomir in Clone Wars where Mother Taliesin, who is like sort of like the strongest of the Night Sisters, basically raises a bunch of zombies to go fight Grievous. Marin does it in
Jedi Outcast, or not fucking.
I don't know if she does it in Jedi Survivor because I haven't finished it. She does it in Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah. Jedi Outcast is a very different game.
Very different game, not zombies.
I think that's pre-Empire.
They do it in Rebels a little bit, where with Night Sister stuff, because like Darth Maul's big in that show. Like they're like zombies are in already.
Yeah. It's not that big of a jump to do them here, especially because that would certainly So Thrawn had that line after Morgan tells him, like, shouldn't we send more than just 2 squadrons? Mm-hmm. And he says, no, our forces have dwindled over the years. 2 squadrons will have to suffice.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, so is he implying that there were other troopers on board when he got hyperspaced away, and this is what's left of them?
Mm-hmm.
Or is he implying, like, I can only raise so many dead because you do need a body. You can't just create matter. And they only have so many bodies down in the fucking temple. I mean, we saw them moving the cargo in big quotes.
Yeah.
It looks very much like caskets. I mean, goddamn, it's a really dark way to go, but if they don't do it, they're fucking bitches, and they don't deserve my money. I'm canceling my Disney Plus subscription. They really fucking... Oh, man. I feel like I've built it up too much now, and now everything's going to disappoint me.
Yeah, I feel like if it's not, I'm probably okay. I probably live.
No, I'll be fine. But like, the pieces are all there. I really want it to be zombies under those helmets, man. Why else would they have Night Sister wrappings on them? And Thrawn doesn't.
I mean, also these are first time I looked at them, I was like, oh, these are designed so people will cosplay them at the next whatever.
Here we go. Crazy out there theory. Are you ready?
Okay.
Ezra killed Thrawn when they hyperspaced away. The Night Sisters are the ones who resurrected him, and they're trying to revive the Empire. Thrawn's secretly dead. Boom. There's that super out there hot take theory.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I would think in the reverse of that I have said a few times, killing Thrawn in the show is bad. Don't do it.
No, and I feel like that's exactly why I brought up the Mandalorian movie, is that this is going to make Thrawn into the bad guy, that Ahsoka is going to need to gather her allies, and that's where we get Din Djarin, that's where we get Bo-Katan Kryze, that's where we get Boba Fett, maybe.
Sure.
Like, she gathers all the little rapscallions from the other shows, and that's their movie.
So we also have Baylan. And Baylan... Well, no, I'm not saying that he's going to be in the movie. I'm saying that he's doing stuff.
Well, he can't be.
No.
Because Ray Stevenson's dead.
Yeah. If we ever see this character again, he'll be, like, animated.
Or, like, a hologram kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean...
They can probably get away with holograms using AI.
I'm saying if they do, like, an animated series. I hope
I see.
I mean, also, side note, side tangent. We got some not for actors yet, but we got some pretty good AI defense for writers. So
oh yeah, the Writers Guild strike's over.
Yeah. And
you know what I got to watch this morning? I got to watch the episode of Seth Meyers from yesterday on YouTube, and I was very happy. Also, John Oliver. I got to watch him tell me about how prison healthcare sucks. And it shouldn't suck because they're also human beings. And I was like, damn, my world was a little less bleak.
And I'm also glad that like they genuinely seem pretty happy with the results. Like, it's not like they had to back off that much.
No, and it's fascinating. I don't
Which
mean
is
to talk
weird because they said that they couldn't. The demands were unreasonable. What happened?
It's funny because from what I've heard, because I follow a lot of representatives of the Writers Guild of America on Instagram, including Adam Conover, who's one of the head presidents, not presidents, but elected officials in the guild. Apparently, a couple weeks ago, Bob Iger personally got involved instead of Disney's representatives, and after 5 days, they had the rough draft of the contract on the table. So apparently, that's what it took, was Bob Iger himself sitting down and actually talking to these people. And then 5 days later, they had a contract.
Well, that's weird. It's almost like if people in charge actually do jobs, then things happen.
Yeah, but also, in the back of my mind, the little tiny naive piece of me that wants everybody to be a good person, I'm like, maybe Bob's not such a bad guy after all.
I'll let you live in that. I won't say. Usually, I feel like I am very much the non-doomer of the podcast. Like, I try my best to hit that. I don't think I'm touching that one.
No.
I'm going to stay away from that one.
I also know the biggest holdouts against it were Apple, Amazon, and Netflix.
Oh, well, yeah, because they're evil.
Yeah, they're super evil, and they can also weather the storm. They
Yeah.
just let the writers just starve to death and be homeless until they come crawling back.
But I'm glad that they won't.
No, yeah, they're fine. Their jobs are safe against AI, and they're gonna make enough money. They're gonna have healthcare. They're gonna be great. It's absolutely disheartening to think the people that helped write Infinity War weren't properly paid for that. It's like the best movie of all time critically, and yet those writers made nothing comparatively. It's just it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And the actors are still on strike. They're trying to get their fair share of the pie.
So we still need to protect against AI hologram Balin.
Yeah, we do. I think the AI shit with actors is super fucking sketch. Super scary, slippery slope stuff there. But that's for a different Doomer podcast that this is not. I'm really excited to see where Ahsoka goes. I feel like we do not get all of our answers in Episode 8.
Right.
Episode 8's runtime has been leaked. It's only going to be 42 minutes and change.
Okay.
So there's no way we get everything answered.
Right.
They have to just be setting up Season 2 / Mando movie.
So my other question was, but the thing I was trying to set up with Balin was...
Oh, I'm so sorry. I stepped all over you.
No, you're fine. I stepped over myself. We were talking about the World Between Worlds before.
Yes.
And that is inherently tied to Ezra and Thrawn stuff, because it's a Rebels only thing right now, and I guess in Ahsoka now. But
Ahsoka has brought it into live action, and Ahsoka is touching everything else Star Wars.
Ahsoka also, air quote, dies in a fight against Darth Vader, and then is brought back in the World Between Worlds. So I feel like it makes a lot of sense for Balin to specifically be going for the World Between Worlds. He talks a lot about cycles and the history.
Oh!
I also think, what if we get a Thrawn death, the thing I've been afraid of, and then when everybody's like, okay, guys, we can all go home, we defeated the big bad guy, and then Balin just kind of yoinks him out of the World Between Worlds again, and then we just have Thrawn alive, and then the movie's just like, oh shit, I thought we killed this guy.
That's a fucking terrifying thought. But also, it's scary on another level because I don't want the writers to just get lazy.
Sure.
But it also makes me a little excited. Like, if you do the World Between Worlds shit, you could, in theory, pull Anakin out.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got an extra lightsaber and the strongest Force user that ever lived to help fight whatever you're going against.
Well, that's the thing that I think Star Wars fans kind of don't want mostly.
Yeah, that gets into the weird, like, Marvel comic booky territory.
Right. When Anakin Skywalker and young Obi-Wan and Luke Skywalker and Rey are all fighting side by side, and they're like, and we're the good guys, and people are opening up like Avengers portals, to go fight Super Palpatine, like that. I feel like that's what we want to avoid in the end. But I think
somehow Palpatine returned. Again,
I think if Balin does something specifically, like if Balin does something that's big for him but minor for like the characters that we know, I think we can get big stuff.
Yeah.
I'm
super excited for that. I have a question for you. So Sabine, during the little trip, gives Ezra a little breakdown of shit that's happened between his disappearance and now. And she tells him the fall of the Empire happened at the Battle of Endor.
Mm-hmm.
If you recall from Disney's Expanded Universe, that's not true.
Sure.
The Empire fell at the Battle of Jakku. That was their last stand. So why did Sabine omit that?
Well, Jakku is mostly, I think, the last of the... I don't think Jakku has happened yet, right?
I thought it did.
I don't know.
See, it's weird with the timelines.
Yeah, because right now there's still Empire. Like,
well, we're in New Republic era.
Yeah, the Empire's not the Empire, but there's still Imperial remnants.
Okay.
And I think that Jakku is mostly... I could be talking on my ass a little bit.
Well, that's what I was kind of hoping to get at with you, because I didn't know the full backstory of the Battle of Jakku, but I was under the impression that it was like the last of the Empire when it was like finally snuffed out, in big quotes, because obviously the First Order comes around.
Right.
But that was like their last stand.
Right now, Mandalorian Season 1 is, I think, 6 years after Jedi. And then this is probably 2-3 years after that. And I don't know how far Jakku is after that. So I think we are still in the territory of where it like a Alphabet Squadron novels.
Okay, so according to StarWarsCanon.fandom.com, which I'm gonna actually here we go. Wikipedia. That's what I want. Wikipedia. The Battle of Jakku is 5.
Okay, so
after
it has
Battle
happened.
of Yavin, so it should have already happened. Yeah. It just got omitted, and that could be maybe Sabine didn't know about it because I don't know what the fuck she was doing during the Battle of Jakku. She clearly wasn't there. But the Battle of Endor was probably like galactic news because the Emperor was dead and so was Darth Vader.
Well, yeah, Battle of Endor I think is...
And the destruction of the Death Star, too.
I think Battle of Endor is the fall of the Empire. I think Jakku is when they're pretty much gone at that point. Because they're not really the Empire after Endor.
Okay.
I think. That's how I would square the circle, I guess.
That makes some sense. I was more curious, like, when the Battle of Jakku had happened and if it was, like, that significant. Because I remember after Disney had purchased the rights, basically, we got that book from Chuck Wendig called Aftermath, which is about the Battle of Jakku.
Which I own and never read.
Same, actually. It's on my bookshelf, never read it. And then when Star Wars Battlefront came out, the remake by EA, the story mode, if you can call it that, was around the Battle of Jakku as well. You got to live the battle. So they made a real big deal about the Battle of Jakku being the absolute fall of the Empire. And that's when they got finally snuffed out. And that's where we find our little hero Rey at the beginning of Star Wars 7. But the fact that Sabine didn't mention it, and it's 6, 7, 8 years after the Battle of Yavin, it just felt weird. And I was just wondering where we were at in timelines.
Yeah, I then in that case we would be after. I also think that there's just a period of there's a layer of like every Star Wars fan will know what Battle of Endor is and not necessarily
that was my other
Battle
thing.
Of Jakku.
Yeah. Everyone knows the Battle of Endor. Not everybody knows the Battle of Jakku because it wasn't in a movie.
Yeah,
but
one episode is concerning. I think. Like one episode being left. I'm trying to think about.
There's only one episode left, and it's 42 minutes and change, which I think it's the exact same length as the flashback episode was.
Yeah.
So that's how much time we have left for them to meet back up with Thrawn, have a battle, Balin to reveal whatever his deep plan is and why his path diverges from Shin's. What the fuck is Shin gonna do?
If he doesn't reveal his plan, that's gonna be a bummer.
That's been my fear.
What?
That's been my fear since the beginning of the show because we found out Ray Stevenson sadly passed before the show came out, but after he had finished filming. So my biggest fear with this show was that they'd be setting up Balin to be another bad guy or like a new Vader, and then that doesn't come to fruition because Ray Stevenson passes.
And I feel like early on I would have put money down on Balin turning, and the more and more we're going, the more I have he stays and Shin turns.
Well, Shin was Shin got the fucking hand outstretched. Please, I can help you from Ahsoka.
Right.
And she chose to run because she's confused and doesn't know what she wants.
Well, she sort of went from psycho lady to now she's kind of more conflicted young adult.
I mean, to be completely fair though, most bad guys that turn acted the same way throughout Star Wars.
Sure.
They're like a psychopath, murderous, angry rampage. Look at like the fucking Trilla from Star Wars Jedi Survivor or Jedi Fallen Order.
Yep.
Excuse me. Fucking Vader.
Sure.
As soon as they start showing a modicum of a complex personality, they realize, oh, maybe the Jedi have a point. Or at least this is a bad idea. I shouldn't be killing people anymore.
I still kind of hope for a character. I've been hoping for this character a long time. I kind of thought Kylo was going to be it. I want a character that has every opportunity to turn into a good guy, and everybody's kind of banking on him, and then they don't. And there's a point in time where the hero basically clicks in their mind like, oh shit, we've got to kill this guy.
I wanted Kylo to be so much more in those 3 movies. And in 1 and 2, he was doing so good.
Well,
3 wasn't bad either, but it could have been better.
3's pretty bad.
No, I meant for him specifically.
Kylo and Rey and honestly, weirdly, Palpatine are kind of the 3 things that hold that movie together. Palpatine.
You mean Sheev?
Yeah. Bringing Palpatine back is the worst part of the movie. Palpatine is maybe the best part of the movie.
Well, that's because they kept Ian McDermott.
Yeah.
And he's such a great fucking guy to play Palpatine.
I like his big GLaDOS arm.
Yeah.
But that movie's bad. And we're not talking about it.
Nope.
But what was I going to say? Oh, so one thing that I do love is after years and years and years, we fully got an on-screen Force-only Jedi moment from Ezra. No lightsaber Jedi is a cool concept that for some reason they haven't done. You squealed like a girl, like a schoolgirl when he caught the lightsaber with the Force.
So catching the lightsaber with the Force always makes me happy. It's such a cool fucking thing. I love seeing it. And I thought it was such a great power that Kylo had, and that he could just completely freeze people. And that also goes to show, like, Ezra did it, but only for a minute, like a few seconds. Kylo was able to completely freeze people in place, including blaster bolts, and just walk freely around it without maintaining concentration. Kylo was incredibly strong with the Force, and I feel like the more people that do what he did, but worse, just goes to show Kylo was really fucking good.
Also,
for the record, I just pulled it up because I was curious if the world agreed with us. Tomato meter, 51% for Rise of Skywalker. Audience score, 86.
I know that one. That's so weird.
That's so bizarre to me.
So strange.
I don't understand it. Oh, I see. The audience in general says, for Star Wars fans unhappy with the previous sequel, Rise of Skywalker concludes the phase of the franchise on a relative high note. So if you didn't like 8, you'll like 9.
So strange to me. I don't know anybody who's like about that movie.
Damn. It did better than fucking Solo did. And it did better than Ready
everything
Player
did
One.
better than Solo did, unfortunately.
Oh, it did better than Wonder Woman 84.
Everything did better than Wonder Woman 84.
That's not true.
No, it made a lot of money, but
yeah.
It's not good.
Anyway, this isn't about Rise of Skywalker. That was actually the first episode of our podcast that we ever did.
We are very generous to that movie in that episode.
We are, but that's mostly just because we really love Star Wars.
Yeah, it's also our first episode, and we didn't want to come out stinky and grumpy.
Nah, because, you don't want to put stinky and grumpy things on the internet. You want
We can be stinky and grumpy now.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to try to be positive. I want to put positivity out there. There's too much negativity.
I feel like 90% of our stinky grumpiness is constructive.
Yeah.
10% of it, I think, is not. For sure. We have definitely had not constructive stinky grumpy episodes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Is that it? Do you have any other big old theories?
I feel like I do. I think I'm just mostly... They gotta do something with this next episode. This next episode has to be crazy.
It's gotta be crazy, but it doesn't have the time to be crazy.
I feel like this would be a great stopping point if it was like 10 episodes.
Yeah.
If there were like 3 more coming, I'd be like, this is gonna be sick.
There's 1.
But I do think that we need to see something from the from Sabine's wolf thing. I think I was almost upset that it didn't do anything in this episode, because last episode was she's just like, go away, you're a coward, you suck, and then finally like giving him a second chance, and then saying you can't ditch me next time, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's gonna do something like big and cool, and it doesn't do anything big and cool yet. I also feel like we are really dancing around a conversation with Ezra still about what is happening with Thrawn and not having a way back and everything.
Yeah, you definitely need to have an honest conversation with the guy.
But with 42 minutes left, are we going to have any sort of like actual conversation about that?
My guess is no, and it's just gonna do like like the title card will play, and then it'll cut to Ezra being like, "What do you mean we have no way home?" And then it's like a quick
that I'm actually okay with.
I'd be fine with that as well, but I feel like that's probably the best we're gonna get at this point, because they don't have the time to do a big lengthy sit down, or if they do, I feel like this show will just end without a proper climax.
Okay.
And it'll just end with on like a cliffhanger of like, well, Thrawn is here, and what do we do? Tune in next year, or maybe later, because the writer's strike postponed things.
Are you okay with cliffhanger versus cramming?
You see, it's two sides of a shitty coin.
Yeah.
Neither one is super great, but Cliffhanger at least gives them time to do things. And on the other hand, I've trusted them so far throughout these 7 episodes. The pacing's been pretty spot on. I haven't felt like I've been rushed. I haven't felt like things are happening without an explanation. I feel like they're not going to let us down now. But at the same time, I'm just a little worried that there's a little too much to do and not enough time to do it.
Also, and all of them have been animated, and this is obviously a different territory, I don't think that I can think of a bad Filoni finale.
Okay.
Literally season finale of Rebel Season 2, Rebel Season 3, Rebel Season 4, and Clone Wars Season 7. Like the finale of 2 onward, and then this finale of Season 7 are probably the best Star Wars, maybe end sentence.
Wow.
It's really good. So I think Filoni has it in him to do it. I even thought that the some episodes that I actually liked in Star Wars Resistance, which is a bad show, the finale is actually pretty good. So like I think he can nail a finale. I don't know. I would not have the tools to do it. Maybe because I haven't been a writer for 20 years of animation, but
yeah, I mean,
that'll do it. But we'll see. He does love these characters. Dave Filoni is a big character guy, which is
sure.
I think why I like him, because I feel like most of my Star Wars joy is just being like, what's this character up to? And sometimes the story won't be very tight, but I'm like, yeah, but I got to see my friends. Like, that's how I feel about Star Wars at this point.
Do you think there's going to be some sort of MacGuffin where it's like, Ahsoka's like, I had a tracker on the ghost, so Hera was able to follow me?
I don't think so. I actually like the fact that right now they're sort of isolated in a spot where it is basically 2.5 Jedi versus like
Thrawn,
a strategic genius,
a bunch of Night
4 Night
Sisters,
Sisters, an army of possibly undead guys, like
two lightsaber wielding gray Jedi, maybe.
Because even if one turns, you're not like, oh, the tides have turned. You're like, oh no, well
they're still fucked.
There's still 4 of them.
It's still very overwhelming odds.
And it's one of those Star Wars things where you can't be like, well, they can just call for reinforcement. Like, there's not really like I mean, Thrawn specifically in Rebels, in the 2-season Rebels, they kind of make a point where all of the times he's actually beaten, like properly beaten, it's always Deus Ex Machina Force stuff because he's prepared for everything else. Like, that's what gets him every time.
And I mean, that's why Ezra makes such a foil and a good hero against his villain, because Ezra is very much one with the Force.
Yeah, and he's also an idiot who has no plans. Like, that's what his character is.
I mean, that became very clear to me, not having seen Rebels, but watching his plan to go against all those night troopers was just, I won't take an extra blaster from Sabine or my old lightsaber back. I'm just going to use the Force because the Force is my ally. It's like, bro, she's got 2 guns and a lightsaber, and she only has 2 hands. You should take one of them at least.
I also do like the fact you were talking about. We were talking about him only using the Force in this fight. I do also like it. It feels like a way to be like, yeah, well, he's way more powerful with this now. He's been practicing. He knows what he's doing now, but in a way that's not like they find him levitating 1,000 rocks and he's Super Saiyan now. The last 10 years, he's turned into Goku.
It's clear that he's been practicing and not shaving.
And Ezra is like, at the end of Rebels, Ezra is like strong.
Yeah. I did some research. He's not a fucking Padawan anymore.
Yeah, he's not even arguable. I think he's pretty easily stronger than Kanan by the end of the show. I mean, Kanan's dead by the end of the show, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Peak Kanan versus peak Ezra.
I knew what you meant. So yeah, I'm super excited to see how this fucking show ends.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you don't have to wait much longer. The last episode comes out tonight. We will probably cover it next week because that's how we do things around the TB&J podcast. We always late, honey. That's what you can count on us, baby. We always fucking late.
Yeah, but I am just glad that so far, 7 out of 8 episodes, we have all thumbed up every episode of a Star Wars show for probably the first time we've ever done this the show.
I will say that Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 sparked some hope in me that Star Wars could be fun again. And then Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian season 3 kind of didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ahsoka really, really, like this, I feel like a kid again watching Star Wars. Ahsoka really, really fucking made me love Star Wars again. And it just goes to show, like, Star Wars as a brand is not stale. Star Wars as a brand has so much potential. You just need the right people to do it. The
number one thing that I always hate about Star Wars, as a big Star Wars fan and not a super cynical fan, the one thing that always gets to me, and they're gonna do it in this show, and I can guarantee they're gonna do it in this show, is there are characters who come along every now and then. Not Rise of Skywalker. Last Jedi is probably the moment where the switch clicked in my head where I'm like, oh, they're never gonna do this. I guess Rise of Skywalker is the point where I thought this. There are always characters who come along who talk about, like, the Jedi and the Sith are both bad. There needs to be they always talk about balance in the Force, and then always they're like, all right, you're balanced to the Force by wiping out the entire other side. And I'm like, this doesn't seem like how balancing works. And I think Balin is kind of that character again this time, where he's like, I'm not a Sith or a Jedi, and we need to end the cycle. And
well, I really enjoy that, because it sounds like ending the cycle, wipe out one side, fine.
Mm-hmm.
One side of rebellion versus empire. I get that.
Yeah.
But the fact that he chooses to not identify with the Jedi or the Sith,
mm-hmm.
and he follows his own teachings, he's like a slightly more villainous Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
And that's all I've ever wanted from, like, a really good Star Wars bad guy,
mm-hmm.
which is such a fucking shame that Ray Stevenson died
mm-hmm.
before we could get a season 2 or a movie.
And it's a shame that that's exactly what Count Dooku is, and they never put any of it in the movies.
No, it's all in the fucking show. But, like,
it's not even in the show. It's you have to read books.
Oh God, really? I thought it was in the show.
It's not even Clone Wars.
Jesus Christ.
There's a little bit of it in Tales from the Jedi, but there's like 15-minute episodes, and he has like 3 of them.
That sucks. But, like, you can agree that Jedi and Sith both have their downfalls,
mm-hmm.
and Luke even says as much in the expanded universe. That's why the New Jedi Order follows a completely different set of rules, and then fucking the sequel movies piss all over that. But Luke made his own order that did actually have balance. The dark side and tapping into your anger is not inherently bad. It's knowing when to control it. And the good side, not having attachments, is bad. Because you can't just be a lone wolf all the fucking time. Because you need people to keep you in check.
Unless you're Dave Filoni, who loves wolves too much.
You can love your wolves, that's fine. Just don't be a sole survivor kind of guy. You have to have your group. You have to have actual attachments, things worth fighting for. And I loved the way that Luke in the books really does examine both sides of the Force and realizes that balance really does come from tapping into both. That's the closest we're probably ever going to get to true balance, because you can't have true balance because then there's no conflict.
Sure.
And then there's no shows anymore and there's no movies anymore.
I still think Last Jedi got even closer of when there's the whole speech on the destroyer where they're talking about, like, forgetting the past, trying to make something new entirely. I was like, this is interesting. Are they both going to become like gray Jedi? And the Last Jedi is there's no more Jedi, but there's still Force users. And I even had a modicum of naivete hitting Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, ooh, what if they call them Skywalkers or something like that? And none of that happened, obviously. And I feel like it's one of these things where, because Star Wars is now, I mean, it's always kind of been multiple writers, but it used to be George Lucas's idea mostly. It's a lot of multiple writers. It's getting close to that comic book phase where, like, when somebody writes something, somebody will inevitably come along and change that thing.
Yup.
And
looking at you, DC.
But, like, sometimes, like, that can be okay for long-going media sometimes, but it is frustrating.
It is very frustrating.
Anyway,
that'll conclude this episode of
I've rambled too long.
Older Star Wars fans bitch and moan about the fucking series.
I think we bitch much less than most old Star Wars fans.
Are we old Star Wars fans? You just said it.
I can take it back.
I need to end the podcast because apparently my life is going to be over soon.
Well, that's for different reasons.
Troy, do you want a souvenir from Disney?
Do I want a souvenir from Disney? Does it mean that you'll survive?
Never mind.
Okay.
You get nothing.
Okay. I didn't know if that was tied in or if that was just another random thing you were bringing up that was different. I'm proud of you for not bringing up Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.